There's a moment in every retiree's life when everything quietly shifts. And it's not when you hit 59 and a half or 65, or for that matter, even when you take your first RMD at 73. It's something far more powerful. It's a moment that I call the crossover point. It's the exact point where your money finally begins working harder than you do, where your retirement income replaces your earned income, and your paycheck stops being the thing that drives your financial security. But here's the thing. Most people don't even recognize when they've hit it. They keep saving, deferring taxes, and taking unnecessary risks long after they already achieve financial independence. And because they miss that moment, they end up overpaying in taxes, missing valuable retirement windows, and sometimes even working years longer than they needed to. That's why understanding your crossover point is one of the most important shifts you'll ever make in retirement planning, because it doesn't just change your money, it changes your mindset. Hi, I'm Mark Wisniewski, president of Southern Incomes. If you find this helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to see what your personal crossover point looks like and how to plan around it, you can book a time with me using the link in the description. Because once you understand this one moment in your financial life, you'll see your retirement through a completely different lens. Let's break it down. 1. What the crossover point really means. The crossover point is the moment when your retirement income starts to fully replace your earned income. It's when your investments, pensions, Social Security, and other income sources together generate enough to cover your lifestyle without relying on a paycheck. It's the point where work becomes optional. Now, here's what's fascinating for most people. It happens years before they realize it. They're so used to saving and accumulating that they stay in growth mode long after they should have shifted to income mode. They keep deferring income into their 401ks, paying unnecessary taxes later, and many times staying in jobs they don't love because they think they just need a little bit more. But the truth is, once your money can sustain your lifestyle, continuing to save the same way can actually hurt your plan by creating bigger tax liabilities and fewer planning options later on. That's why recognizing your crossover point early can completely reshape your retirement path. 2. Why most people miss it. There are 2 big reasons. First, fear. We've been taught since our very first job to save, 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 and save some more. So, even when you've reached financial independence, it still feels risky to stop working and to start spending. But fear of running out often causes people to overwork and underlive. Second, no clear income plan. Most people don't have a structured strategy for how their money is going to pay them back. So, even if the math works, emotionally, they just don't believe it. They don't know where their income will come from, or how much to withdraw, or how to do it tax efficiently. That uncertainty keeps them working longer than necessary, and it costs them valuable years that they could have been enjoying. 3. How to know when you've hit your crossover point. It's simpler than you think. Start by defining how much income you actually need to maintain your lifestyle after taxes and expenses. Then add up your sustainable income sources, Social Security based on your claiming age, any pension or rental income, and conservative portfolio withdrawals, often 3% or maybe 4% per year. If those add up to what you need, you've crossed over. Congratulations. For example, if your target lifestyle costs, let's say $100,000 a year, and you have $45,000 coming from Social Security, maybe $10,000 coming from a pension, and another $45,000 coming from those 4% withdrawals from that would take about a $1.1 million portfolio. Guess what? You've now hit your crossover point. That's all there is to it. That's financial independence. Whether you realize it or not, you've reached it. But here's the key. Hitting that number is not about quitting tomorrow. It is about knowing that you can. It's about reclaiming choice, the freedom to decide how and when and why you work. That's what true financial independence really is. 4. Why the crossover point changes everything. Once you reach your crossover point, your financial focus shifts completely. Up until now, everything was about accumulation, earning, saving, and growing your nest egg. But after the crossover point, the game really changes to preservation and, of course, control. Here's the difference. Before the crossover point, you are building wealth and chasing growth. You are maximizing contributions and compounding your investment returns. After the crossover point, you're managing taxes, withdrawals, and risk. You're protecting your income, not just your assets. You're coordinating timing, Social Security, RMDs, healthcare costs, and your legacy goals. You're no longer asking, how much can I make? You're asking, how much can I keep? That's a major mindset shift, and it's what separates confident retirees from stressed out ones. 5. How to plan around your crossover point. Once you've identified it, your next step is to optimize it. Step 1. Clarify your lifestyle number. What's that? Well, how much do you actually spend after taxes and essential? That's your benchmark. It's not your gross income. Step 2, map your income sources. Know exactly where your retirement income will come from. Social Security, pensions, investments, annuities, maybe part-time work, and how each one of those is going to be taxed. Step 3, sequence your withdrawals strategically. There's an optimal order to drawing income. For example, using pre-tax accounts in your 60s before Social Security can lower your lifetime taxes and your future RMDs. Step 4, build flexibility. Keep a mix of tax-deferred, taxable, and tax-free accounts so you can choose where your income comes from each and every year instead of letting the IRS choose for you. That's how you manage the crossover point intelligently, by turning financial independence into tax and income control. 6. The emotional shift, permission to enjoy what you have built. Here's the part nobody talks about. Crossing over isn't just a financial milestone. It's a psychological one. For 30 or 40 years, you've been wired to accumulate. You've celebrated savings milestones, promotions, and your investment returns, of course. But once you crossed over, the hardest part is not the math. It's giving yourself permission to enjoy it. That's why I often tell clients retirement isn't a finish line, it's a redesign. And speaking of finish lines, I had a conversation with the guy who was overseeing the planning for maybe winningest race car driver in history. He told me he had put a lot of work into giving this racing legend permission to enjoy what he built. And in the end, his plan saw a shift to more charity and foundation activities. But you don't need Richard Petty kind of money to learn that once you've built enough, the goal shifts from how much more can I make to how do I use what I've built to live intentionally. That's the point where financial planning really becomes life planning. 7. Staying in control after the crossover point. Reaching it is a milestone. Staying in control is a discipline. You still need to revisit your tax brackets annually, monitor inflation and your market returns, adjust your withdrawal rates over time, coordinate RMDs and healthcare costs strategically. That's how you keep control of your plan instead of just reacting to it. Because the crossover point isn't where retirement ends, it's where it truly begins. So here's the takeaway. Your retirement crossover point is the moment your money starts working harder than you do. Recognizing it early doesn't mean you have to stop working immediately. It just means you get to start choosing how you're going to live. If you want help identifying your personal crossover point and building a tax-efficient income plan that gives you control, confidence, and peace of mind, book a call with me using the link in the description. I'll show you how to make that moment work for you so your money supports the life you've worked your whole life to build.